Hey everybody, welcome back to an episode of The Elite, the Elite Count. I am War Machine MJ. And I'm joined by a special guest. This is Bruce. He's a wimp when it comes down to thunderstorms. So he comes down to the bunker to hide. So hi for the camera. Anyway, I'm here today to talk about AEW Dynamite for the May 6th edition of the show. Basically, it was their return to normality, or so it seemed. They were back to the three-man commentary booth of Excalibur, JR, and Tony Schiavone. Well, I guess gone are the days of Chris Jericho and Tony Schiavone. It was a real riot while it lasted. Anyway, they had a full crew this time. We kicked off the show with Cody Rhodes taking on Joey Janela, the bad boy. Now this was a fun enough match. Joey Janela pandered to the crowd. Cody hit a wicked moonsault off the stage, and it ended with Cody Rhodes hitting Joey Janela with a crossroads. Afterwards, they had a women's division recap package. Basically, since a good chunk of the women's division has been on hiatus until this episode, it was just a refresher course because they went over Nyla Rose taking the title off of Riho, and how even though Chris Statlander is still kind of popular, she wasn't at any of the AEW tapings. Of course, they were mostly dominated by Britt Baker and Penelope Ford and Hikaru Shida. So, yeah, they ran that package, followed by a Nyla Rose interview from one Tony Schiavone. Basically, Nyla reminded everybody that she's going to be that she is the most dominant force in the AEW women's division and always will be. Right after that interview, Nyla Rose took on Kenzie Page, which Little Miss Page didn't survive long. She got the hell power bombed out of her. Next, we had an MJF promo, basically saying he's going to return to action next week. There was also a Shawn Spears promo. Basically, Shawn Spears was putting Cody on blast for allowing Dustin Rhodes to continue in the match, even though he was just, well, he's just beaten and bloodied. And Shawn Spears said if it was in my situation, if I was in that situation, I would have thrown in the towel to protect my brother. Given that I am a brother, I would, I would protect my younger sibling. After we got back from that promo, Tony Schiavone was interviewing Spears and MJF, who were sitting ringside back to their gambling ways. Tony Schiavone then dropped the pipe bomb that MJF will be facing Jungle Boy at Double or Nothing. Also announced for Double or Nothing is going to be a casino ladder match. Of course, the latest installment of the Casino Battle Royal, or the latest installment of the Casino match, is now going to be a ladder match. Winner gets a shot at Jon Moxley's AEW World Championship, Big Plat, as they call it. Speaking of the AEW World Champion, Jon Moxley took on Frankie Kazarian. Now, Kazarian was rocking a little bit of hair on his head, and This was a pretty good match, despite John Moxley being gassed barely into it. But Moxley put Kazarian down with the paradigm shift. Anyway, after the match, the Dark Order jumped John Moxley. Of course, it was all the masked goons. Of course, they were all decked out in nice dress shirts and suit pants, nice shoes, except for number 10, who was just looking like a freaking monster. Of course, number 10 is the latest inductee into the Dark Order. And after the creepers had done damage, Mr. Brody Lee came out ringside. Well, SCU got involved. They tried to make a save, but to no avail. Dark Order put them down like nobody's business. Brody Lee came out and cut a promo over John Moxley's, just beaten carcass. Basically challenging him to a match for the AEW Championship. And then he dropped the mic right at Mox's face. Mox picks up the microphone and says, "All you had to do was ask." The goons then beat him down, and when we went to commercial, Brody Lee walked off with the AEW World Championship. So it was official. It was made official that that John Mox will defend against Mr. Brody Lee at Double or Nothing. Next, we had a Brandy Rhodes promo. Basically, she was talking about Jake the Snake and recalled some advice that was given to her a long time ago. Basically said, "Don't fuck with people you don't know." So then she threatened Jake, saying he needs to keep her name out of his dirty old mouth. Next was the aforementioned Jake the Snake, accompanying to the ring the Murder Hawk monster Lance Archer, who who yeah, he walks around ringside, finds a plant in the audience, and just waylays him. I'm just liking Lance Archer coming out and just destroying somebody. Anyways, oh, sorry, something else. Anyway, Lance Archer was taking on QT Marshall, who was accompanied to the ring by Brandy Rhodes. Of course, QT was throwing everything he had at Lance Archer, but nothing was avail. During the middle of the match, Britt Baker, who was at ringside, hit QT Marshall with her shoes. So Brandy Rhodes came up, grabbed the shoe, and just hucked it right into the stands. The finish saw Archer just take out Marshall with a iron claw for the victory. After the match, Britt Baker attacked Brandy Rhodes at ringside, basically just feeding her to the Snake and the Murder Hawk. Of course, Jake then put his python on Brandy. I swear it sounds like innuendo, but no, he actually had a python. And it kind of looked like Jake went off script, but I'm confident he was on script. Anyways, next we had a backstage interview where Taz attempted to interview Darby Allin about his loss. But Darby wasn't having none of that. Then Taz kind of stuck his foot in his mouth, said Darby kind of pinned himself, and he then offered professional advice, which Darby just walked away from. And that finally led us to our main event, as Kenny Omega and the debuting Matt Hardy took on Les Sex Gods, Chris Jericho, and Sammy Guevara. When Chris Jericho and Guevara and Hager made their way to the ring, Jericho got shoved by Pineapple Pete, who is in the crowd, who Jericho would be facing next week on Dynamite. And then Matt Hardy came out as V1 Matt Hardy. A nice little callback. And he and Kenny just, the first part of this match took place in the ring. And it was basically a greatest hits from the Hardy Boys, except for Kenny was playing the role of Jeff Hardy. But it was fun nonetheless. During this ring session, Matt Hardy then switched to the old Hardy Boys Matt Hardy. He still looks great. Still in amazing shape. But that then spilled out to the backstage arena where the latter half of this match took place, and just all hell broke loose. Matt Hardy got hit with a bag of ice, and then he got thrown in the ice chest. A few moments later, he came out as Damascus, aka Broken Matt Hardy. In the interim, however, Kenny Omega was forced to stave off a 3-on-1 assault as Jericho, Hager, and Guevara beat down on him. Of course, he got some offense in until Matt Hardy rejoined the fray with the golf cart. Kenny hopped on. They sort of love tapped Chris Jericho with the golf cart, and then they took out Sammy Guevara with the golf cart. Then Matt Hardy tried to load up Chris Jericho on a couple of tables, as Kenny was going to do a moonsault from a scissors lift, an elevated scissors lift, mind you. But Guevara put a kibosh on that, and Kenny Omega still hit the moonsault just over the table, wiping out all three men. Of course, Kenny was going to get Jericho up for a one-winged angel, but Santana Ortiz came absolutely out of nowhere, put a kibosh to that, and the Inner Circle just had their way with Kenny. Kenny got powerbombed on the top of the roof cart, on top of the golf cart. Hager choked him out, and then Jericho hit the Judas effect for the victory. Of course, Inner Circle stood in front of the Jaguars field, celebrating with their name on the Titantron, and they closed out Dynamite with them just flipping off the camera. It was a pretty good episode of Dynamite. I'll say so myself. And with that being said, that's our recap of Dynamite from May the 6th. And remember, if you miss Rodimus, he has a podcast, Prime Talk with Rodimus Prime, on the CastBox app. Go check it out so we can talk about wrestling and what little sports are going on in the world. Anyway, with that being said, I'm War Machine MJ, of course, accompanied by Bruce. Good puppy. And we will see you guys next time. Bye-bang.